The dispersion of the races. The human race is almost 1 million years old, and the first half of its story roughly corresponds to the pre-planetary prince days of Urantia. The latter half of the history of mankind begins at the time of the arrival of the planetary prince and the appearance of six-colored races, and roughly corresponds to the period commonly regarded as the Old Stone Age. To avoid commingling with southern Samian tribes, the early Andonites fled northward. In the foothills of the Indian highlands among the tribes of Badonan, another struggling center of culture persisted. Fear of floods in the lowlands kept these tribes fairly isolated for many thousands of years. The mixed descendants of Badonan stock become Neanderthals. Neanderthals were excellent fighters, great hunters, and extensive travelers. 500,000 years ago, around the time of planetary prince's arrival, the relatively pure Badunan tribes become involved in a great racial struggle. After more than 100 years of warfare, only about 100 families of Andon and Fontas descendants were left alive. Among these Badonites, a man and woman began to produce a family of unusually intelligent children whose skins turned various colors in the sunlight. This was the Sankic family, ancestors of the six-colored races on Urantia. For 100,000 years, the Sankic peoples spread out among the Indian foothills and generally mingled together. India in that era became the most cosmopolitan place ever known on earth. The Red Sankic were the first to leave their homeland. When they had built up sufficient numbers, they migrated northeast to occupy Asia. They were followed by the Yellow tribes, who drove the Red people out of Asia across the Bering Land Bridge into North America. The Red Man was accompanied to North America by three tribes of mixed ancestry, the largest being of a combination of orange and blue. Leaving the purer reds behind in North America, these people journeyed together into Mexico and Central America, where they eventually were joined by a mixed group of reds and yellows. These travelers intermarried and founded a new race that was less warlike than the pure red race. Within 5,000 years, these new people had divided themselves into three groups and established civilizations in Mexico, Central America, and South America. 85,000 years ago, the Bering Land Bridge sank, isolating the red men on the American continent. The red race was the first of the Sankic races to develop tribal government, but infighting and tribal wars nearly caused their extinction. The yellow race was the first to establish settled communities and base their home lives on agriculture. They were intellectually inferior to the red race, but socially and collectively they were superior to the other Sankic peoples. They lived together in relative peace. Their spiritual leader was Singlangton, who taught them to worship the one truth. In Asia, offspring of red and yellow races migrated to the eastern peninsulas and the islands of the sea. They are the present-day brown people. The blue men traveled westernward into Europe along the trails of the Andon tribes. There they came across Neanderthals, and the intermingling of these groups led to the immediate improvement of the Neanderthals. The blue man had the intelligence of the red race and the sentiment of the yellow race. He developed many of the arts of modern civilization. The tools, bones, and art of the blue people are found throughout Europe by those who study the Old Stone Age. Their descendants mixed with yellow, red, nodite, and Adamic stock provide the biological foundation for today's white races. The blue people who remained on the Arabian Peninsula mated with other races, especially the yellow. This blend was upstepped by the later appearing violet race and exists today as the modern Arabs. The outstanding characteristic of the orange races was their urge to build anything and everything, even to the piling up of vast mounds of stone just to see who could build the highest mound. They were the first of the Sankik to travel southward toward Africa. Before they were wiped out by the green race, they were uplifted by the leadership of Porushunta of Amagaton. The orange race was destroyed 100,000 years ago. The green race was weakened by extensive migration. Those who went north were enslaved and absorbed by the yellow and blue men. Those who went east were absorbed mainly into the Indian people, but survived in greatest numbers in Burma and Indochina. The indigo race was the last of the Sankiks to migrate from the Indian highlands. After incorporating the orange and green remnants, they took over the African continent. The purer indigo elements drifted southward. They maintained the form of worship of the unknown up to a few thousand years ago. When human beings reached the limit of evolutionary development, the life carriers signaled Jerusalem to dispatch to this world a material son and daughter, Adam and Eve. The chief business of this imported pair was to multiply, spread out, and uplift the evolutionary races. More specifically, Adam and Eve were to build up a violet race of about 1 million people before integrating with the native evolutionary motors of Earth. This outpouring of imported ability was to generate a succession of rapid strides in civilization. As a result, more progress was to be made in 100,000 years than in the previous million years of struggle like Caligastia. Adam and Eve defaulted in their missions. Succumbing to impatience, they unintentionally assisted Lucifer in a nefarious scheme to lead humanity further into chaos and confusion. The earth has yet to recover.